out into that high plank position. When we get to this position, we're going to make sure that we really activate in this plank. So driving those hands down, I want you to think about kind of like you're screwing your hands into the ground. I want you to screw those hands in, really engage with the ground, and drag those heels backwards, create tension through the whole body. Then we're going to lift those hips up into that down dog and walk those hands back to that forward fold and roll it back up. We're going to do that 2 more times. We're rolling our way back down, stretch those hamstrings. We're going to try to keep those heels on the ground as we walk those hands out into plank. Hands end up under those shoulders. We're going to screw those arms into the ground, create tension through the arms, through the chest, through those legs and glutes. Hold, hold, hold. And then we'll drive those hips up. Mobilize those shoulders. And walk those hands back. And roll it on up. We're going to go one more time now. Feeling a little bit more loose. We'll walk those hands out. Really establish that plank. Create that tension through those arms, through those abs, through those legs and glutes. Really try to pull those abs as tight as we can. A good core warm up here. Then we'll send those hips up into that pike position. Walk those hands back in. And we'll roll it up. Alright, I'm going to take one big step going forward. We're going to kind of hit our runner's lunge here. So you can bring both those hands down to the ground. Or if we want to stay a little bit high, we can. Either way, we're going to work to open up those hips, kind of left to right a little bit. So keeping our hips, our feet right where they are. We're going to just kind of swing that upper body left and right. In control, of course. So we're kind of just rotating those shoulders, swinging those about the pivot point of your belly button or those hips. As big or a small movement as you feel comfortable. And then we're going to push that back up. And we'll switch to the other leg. Dropping down into that runner's lunge. And just kind of locking those shoulders around. Just a little different movement in those hips. We'll be doing a little bit of lateral movement, a little rotational movement. So we'll make sure that we're ready to go through those hips, create some power in there. One more. And then we'll drop that back up to standing. A little bit more fluidity in the hips. We're going to go for some high kicks. So opposite foot to opposite hand. Or just driving that foot up nice and tall. Trying to keep that leg nice and straight. Good movement through that hip. We're going to go about 8 to 10 each side. Some dynamic flexibility here. Last one. And we'll go for the other side. So I'm kind of letting that leg swing back a little bit, taking that step. Just kind of catch that momentum going back. Certainly feels a little stiffer on the first few reps, but sort of getting a little bit bigger count, 8 to 10, just to get nice and more mobile through those hips. It's also just fun. I really enjoy it. Let's go 2 more here. All right, feeling good, feeling mobile, great. We got a little bit of a plyometric Tabata to start things off, just to get that heart rate high, okay? First movement, super simple, jumping jacks. Second movement, we're doing high knees with a squat. So what that's gonna look like, jumping jacks, you know jumping jacks, right? High knees with a squat is gonna go 4 high knees to a squat. So it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, squatting down. Cool.
It's just going to be 20 seconds worth at a time. All right, so we're going to get ready for jumping jacks, 20 seconds worth. Ready in 3, 2, 1, go. Just to kind of get that heart rate up, get us ready for today's workout. We'll kind of front load this so we're nice and prepped to move. So it doesn't have to be fast here. We'll kind of gradually step our way up. Relax. Give you a couple extra seconds to work on that one, sorry. All right, we're gonna go to those high knees to a squat, 20 seconds worth. Ready, set, go. 4 high knees, squatting now. Trying to stay light on those toes, drawing those knees up to that chest. Last 3, 2, 1, and relax. All right. I'm gonna go around those a couple more times. Let the heart rate recover. Get ready in 3, 2, 1, back to jumping jacks. Let's go. Getting those arms all the way up overhead. Nice wide feet. If you want to take these to step jacks, you can if we're not quite in that plyometric realm. Last 2, 1, and rest. Whew. Heart rate's getting up for sure. All right, quick 5 seconds more rest. We're gonna go with high knees to squat. Ready? 2, 1, go. 4 high knees to each leg. And squatting down. Told you you're gonna get those hips ready. We got 3, 2, 1, and relax. Ooh, all right. Feeling good. We're almost there. We got 2 more rounds of these 2 movements. Back to jacks. Ready, and 3, 2, 1, go. Third time around here, we're gonna try to bring that pace up just a touch. Moving through, feeling good now. 3, 2, 1, and rest. Then those high knees to squats. Whew. Big breath, settle yourself. Ready in 2, 1, go. I'm gonna try to really push this one. Landing softly into that squat, getting those arms involved at the same time. You know, 3, 2, 1, and relax. All right. One final one to go here. Last 20 seconds of jumping jacks. Getting ready in 3, 2, 1, go. Try to keep that chest up nice and proud. Come on. Right here. Last time. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Rest. Then we'll go for our high knees, 2 squats. Last time, big break coming up at the end of this. 2, 1, go. Quick transition from that standing to that low squat. Trying to stay with me last time. Get those knees up. Last 3, 2, 1, and time. All right, give yourself 2 big pats on the back, 2 on the lower back. You did great. Quick water break, and we'll transition to our first block. All right, so today I talked about a lot of lateral rotational work. So we got kind of 2 movements in this first block, a lift and a chop. It's going to look the same, but we're going to go about it in opposite ways. All right. So before we get there, we're just gonna go one movement at a time here. We're gonna start with our lateral walking lunge. So I realize that not all of us have a whole lot of space to work with, but if you can get a space where we can get 2 lateral lunges in a row, that'll kind of serve the purpose here. So we're gonna start on one end of our space. We're gonna take a nice big lunge out to the side. We're gonna sit our hips back, all right? You can throw those hands out to kind of balance that hip if you want to. The same direction that you stepped, you're gonna plant that foot, drive in, pull that back foot back. All right, so we made one big step this way. We're gonna go one more in that direction. If you have the space to continue going that way. Otherwise, we're gonna go back the other way. All right, so I'm gonna go kind of 2 to the right, 2 to the left here. Just focusing on depth, kind of lowering ourselves into that lateral lunge. If you want to grab an additional weight, kettlebell, dumbbell, you can hold that in that front of body position, in that goblet position. Otherwise, that body weight is going to work pretty well here. I'm going to go one more time back and forth. If you have not switched legs yet, go ahead and switch legs. For those that have the space to move all in one direction, this is a good chance to kind of help bring that heart rate back down after that great plyo Tabata warm up. And we'll come back to a stance and rest there. All right. Second movement, as I kind of alluded to, we have a rotational lift. So what this is going to look like, you can use a weight for this if you'd like to. You can use that from your hip. Otherwise, we're going to sink a little bit lower, kind of towards right above the knee. So imagine you just have a small object, a medicine ball or something. We're going to come from that knee. We're kind of loading into this hip. All right, so if I'm standing, I'm loading into that hip. All right, this is my right leg. I'm kind of pivoting into, again, this hip, and then I'm going to explode this lift diagonally across. All right, so almost like I'm throwing that medicine ball towards the corner of the room. We're going to load into that hip, and we're going to power through that hip, through those abs, throwing diagonally across. All right, so we're rotating as we are lifting that imaginary or very real weight. So loading in, driving through. We're going to load in, driving through. So notice that back foot is pivoting. I'm getting fully extended here through those arms. We're going to go 3 more here. Big explosive power. Loading in, driving through. All right, 2 more. Load in, use that core, drive through. So I'm kind of expelling a good harsh breath along with it, just to reinforce that pattern, that explosiveness. Last one, load, explode. Good. All right, so we're gonna go to the other side. We're gonna go about 6 reps on this side. So get kind of that feel of loading into that opposite hip. Again, kind of taking it just above the knee, mid-thigh there. Power across that body. So I'll kind of do a couple from the side here as we load in. You want to work to keep those arms coming close as we press up. Load, explode. All right, loading into that hip. Get that weight pretty much all on one side. Explode. Good. Load, explode. We got 3 more. Loading into that hip. Really throw that hip forward, kind of like you're swinging for the fences on a baseball with a baseball bat. We're gonna go one more time. Load into that hip and explode. All right, I got a real twisted on my mats here. So great rotational movement focused on power. Again, if we have a weight, we can add a little bit to that. Would not recommend going very heavy in that. Something that is power-based, that is explosive. Usually use it typically a lighter weight. Okay, third movement here. We're gonna, add a little bit more stabilization into that upper body in a pike shoulder tap. We can digress this down to a traditional pike shoulder tap as needed, but otherwise, we're going to walk those feet towards that hand into a high pike position. And we're going to go left hand to the left shoulder, back down, right hand to right shoulder. All right, so where we might go plank shoulder taps, opposite shoulders, this pike shoulder tap, we're going to go the same shoulder. So we're just going to be alternating back and forth here, trying to keep those hips to be nice and level, trying to put equal weight into each foot. And we're going to go about 8 to 10 each side. Holding those abs nice and tight. They should be fired up from those rotational lifts. Now we got one more each side. Notice that pace we're going, not super speed. We're going to bring that back down. But again, focus on stabilizing in those arms. So the more time we can hang up there on those arms, the better. We're not just looking to tap, 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 get out of there. Looking to create that stabilization through that shoulder, through that upper body, and of course through that core. All right. Next movement is going to be the inverse of that lift. We're going to do a chomp. So basically just going to hit rewind on it. So we're going to start in this extended position. All right, and our explosiveness is going to come down, loading into that hip. Or if you think about, again, a medicine ball, you're kind of doing a cross-body diagonal slam. All right, slamming down right next to that foot. All right, so that's the mental process I want you to have. But we're getting fully extended up just like we finished that lift. And we were kind of explosively pulling and loading, decelerating that explosiveness with that hip, with that glute and hamstring on that side. All right, so same deal, 6 on each side here, fully extended, loading into that hip. Or again, just think about throwing that ball down right through the ground, right through that foot, right next to that foot. Don't throw it through your foot. So full extended, right through that ground. Got 2 more. And you should finish the same way that you would start that same lift. All right? Really load it in with all that weight on the one side. Let's switch to the other side. Fully extended. Going into that hip. A little less coordinated on this side, but it's okay. We're going to find it. We're going to feel it out. There's 3. And we're looking for 6. Last one. All right. So, again, main things, we're going to do that set one more time. Main things we're looking for on those 2 movements is that kind of core. So as we're kind of gearing up with those hips, the reason we're loading into that hip is so we can then explode through that hip, which is going to be pulled through with that oblique on the opposing side. All right, so all that rotational work here is going to come all through that core right through the middle here. So think about this as kind of a very active abs class. Cool, so we're going to start back at the top with those lateral lunges, chance to kind of slow down, focus on that strength in that lower body. So, again, I'll go from the side here. As we step out, I want to think about pushing those hips back. Those arms going to go forward for support. Notice this whole lower leg is straight up and down. All right, I'm not forward here. I'm not extended with my knees not extended. I'm kind of sitting into a chair on that single leg. All right, pushing through that back leg and going again. Big stride, sinking into that chair, pulling that leg back through. All right, take it at your own pace here. We're going to get, again, about 4 to 6 each side, depending on your length. or the space really that you have to work with. I want you to really focus on sitting into that again, kind of that one hip. Alright, not any rotational work here, but still focus on loading onto that single side. We'll go one more time down and back. 2 more for each. And on the way back. Alright, so I'm going to go back to that lift. We kind of talked about what we're looking for here. Now we're just focused on the explosiveness, 6 each side on this. Coming from that kind of lowered position, driving across and throwing up. Alright, so think again, explosiveness from that start to that finished position as quickly, as explosively as possible. So just the amount of effort here is really going to limit the number of reps that we do, because we're putting so much into each one. We're not going to be able to repeat that process for really more than 6 to 8 reps. So let that be your guide as you go through here. I'll switch that other side. Really throwing those hips through. If you have any childhood experience with baseball or softball or golf even, any of that rotational hip work, ooh, lost some balance on that one. Try to reawaken that, apply that to this drill. Focus on that core hip stability and that explosiveness driving through. Alright, now 2 more to the side. Throwing through, really extend those arms for me. And we'll finish there. Alright, we're going to go back to those pike shoulder taps. Again, same side, looking for stability on those touches. Alright, 8 to 10 per side. So nice high pike. Boom. In this pike position we've talked about before, but it is a modified handstand position. So really trying to load those arms, those shoulders as much as we can. We don't get a whole lot of overhead pressing with body weight. So unless you're getting upside down, doing some handstand push-ups, this is likely what you're working with. So create that stability, really driving into the ground. Got 1 more each side. And we'll bring that down. And then we're going to finish up with our last movement here is that chop. So from that top coming down into that hip. Explosiveness, again, from that top to that bottom as fast and as powerful as we can make it. Alright, get some solid ground under my feet. Start in that extended position, driving down into that hip. Alright, again, if it helps to imagine a ball, throwing that down right next to your foot, by all means, do it. So notice I'm changing levels. Look at where my shoulders end up. Look at where my shoulders start. We've got about 1.5 feet or so of elevation change. And a very rapid descent. Last one on this side. And then we're going to switch, rotate to the other side. Finish strong. Last movement here, final 6. Right into that hip. Ooh. Again, the big focus here is decelerating that movement. We talk a lot about our acceleration, all right, moving from slow to fast. We don't talk a whole lot about moving from fast to slow. So we're eccentrically loading that hip through that glute, that hamstring to catch this movement. Last one, finish strong. And there we go. All right, a little bit more of a sports conditioning, athleticism work today. I hope you enjoy that. We'll be back for abs class here just a minute, grab yourself some water and a breather. We'll be back very soon.